You got this right here. I think this looks, you know, decent. Probably looks a bit better than Bandai, but, you know, not like incredible stuff, you know. It's like, it's passable in a sense, I guess. It's like, you know, it's decent-ish, right? All right, you got this. All right. Got this. Now, why would you say exquisite? Exquisite craft details. Why would you say exquisite craft details if you're not making something like Black Shark or like the recustom DKO Bardock stuff? Like, if you're not making stuff that's just like perfectly spot on anime awesome stuff, dude, don't talk about exquisite craft details, man. Like, seriously, man. You know, it's decent. It's not like complete and utter trash, but it's not of that high artistic level where you should be calling it exquisite craft details. You know what I mean, dude? Oh my goodness, man. All right, so you got this right here. Nose looks really flat right there. Very flat. Is this exquisite? You know what I mean, man? So yeah, I don't know. I think someone in the comments said these might be AI images also. I'm not certain. The flat nose might be an indicator of that, unless the actual real figures they've released so far have also had like a flat nose or whatever. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you for sure. You got this right here. Okay. Then you got this. All right. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call this exquisite craft details, man. It's just weird, dude. It's weird, man. It feels like in the Dragon Ball figure world, a lot of people have like really like, I guess, low artistic standards for like how the figures look and stuff, which of course, as I said before, it makes sense because for so much time, dude, for so many years, Bandai was releasing these like, and they still are, of course, releasing these like generic figures and stuff, and people like think that they look incredible. I mean, even I myself at one point thought they did. You know, I thought SH FIGUARTS looked incredible and stuff like that, but you know, once I saw stuff like Storm Arena, you know, Recustom, what else is there? Wild Super Action Studio. Like, once I started to see stuff like that and compare it to SH FIGUARTS, I was like, wait a minute. This is basic nonsense, dude. Like, I couldn't see it before, you know, like my eyes were literally closed before. So a lot of people, man, their eyes are very closed to the artistic mediocrity of what Bandai makes and stuff. And even stuff like this, you know, that kind of thing right there. Yeah. And I mean, of course, like, you know, regarding regarding artistic criticism of products, like some people do get very upset about, let's say, people like making fun of somebody's like art or like a figure they made or a sculpt they made and stuff like that. And there is like, you know, there is a fine line between, let's say, criticism that is like, you know, helpful and just like completely just mocking someone, making fun of them. But it's like, it's difficult to know where the line is, because sometimes to convey a point effectively, you have to make comparisons to certain things. Like, for example, those Broly Headsculpts from last week, I think it was, where I said that they look like, well, the yelling one looks like he's saying "ah" at the dentist, right? Like, of course, that is kind of like a humorous thing to say. It looks like he's at the dentist saying "ah," which is like, you can see that as like, oh, you're being too whatever or something like that. But at the same time, like, that is, I believe, an accurate description of what that product is. Like, that's what it looks like. It does look to me like if he's at the dentist saying "ah." It just so happens that that description is also kind of funny. You know what I mean? So there can be a fine line between making fun of someone in an uncharitable way and giving constructive feedback, you know? But I do think that criticism of like how these figures look and stuff, dude, and like different products people might want to sell to you and stuff, it is very, very necessary. It's a very necessary part of collecting, because if everyone is just like too nice to the point where they don't want to say anything bad about anyone's product or figure or the sculpt or whatever, if everyone is too nice, then what is going to happen is that we're going to be flooded with mediocre art being peddled as if it's great art. Okay, that is what would happen if everyone was too nice. Okay, and we didn't have let's say a good amount of criticism, useful criticism, which of course, drawing the line between, you know, what could be considered good criticism or mocking someone in a bad way, it's difficult to know where the line could be drawn in a certain sense, but we do need criticism of these products, because otherwise, well, look at what happened with Bandai, right? Bandai makes mediocre garbage repeatedly, and not enough people criticize the mediocre trash they make. Hence why they've gotten away with all these years making that generic nonsense and charging ridiculous prices for it. But of course, in recent times, I believe more and more people are having their eyes opened to just how mediocre S8 FIGUARTS are when you compare them to the source material, to certain third-party products and stuff like that, okay? And hopefully, at some point, enough people will realize what's going on and realize the mediocrity of what they're being given, that it will have an effect on Bandai. Okay, I mean, I think perhaps Lowest Born Saiyan might have been Bandai giving some response to, you know, people wanting more artistic figures. I don't know why they can't just make stuff like that for every figure. I mean, it's ridiculous, you know, but we do need criticism in like collecting. We do need it, okay? And I will say that for me personally, generally, I try to be nicer when the person is not yet selling the product. So if it's just like, you know, say a random customizer, they just like show what they've made or something like that, you know, and let's say they're seeking feedback or whatever, then I would likely be a lot nicer in how I speak to them, right? Because they're not just trying to sell me some mediocre thing for like $1,000 or $100 or whatever, you know. But I think that when the person or company has reached the point where they're asking you for some insane price for some mediocre product, at that point, strong, vehement criticism is extremely needed, because they're actually asking for money for this thing. And you're like, dude, you can't be seriously asking for $100 for this. Like the KW cell, for example, right? If KW had shown their cell figure, like let's say months ago, looking like that, but without yet having, let's say, charged a certain price for it, let's say they hadn't taken pre-orders yet, right? And they showed images of the cell saying, do you guys like how this looks, feedback, whatever, like how Red Leaf Studio has done, right? Then I would of course be a lot nicer to them and be like, hey, I think you should improve this, you should blah, 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 you should do this, do that, do that. But when you're already charging $130 and you're planning to release that garbage, then it's like, you know, I'm just going to war then. Then wartime is here, because you're already charging for this. You're not in the phase where you're like saying, okay, let me make sure this looks good before I release it. Let me make sure this looks good before I take people's money. No, you've already taken people's money and you're planning to release this garbage, and you haven't improved it or anything, and it's about to release, or now you released it or whatever. So to me, at that point, vehement criticism is necessary, okay? There's a certain threshold whereby I'm like, okay, now we're going to war. Now we're going to war, okay? So yeah, I try not to go to war in that same way with someone who's just asking for feedback on Instagram or something, compared to a company that's like releasing a cell figure for $130 that looks like garbage, okay? So let's continue now.